Have you ever looked at someone who built a successful business from scratch and wondered what they knew that you didn't? Maybe they seemed to have some secret knowledge, some special education, or some insider access that you lacked. And maybe that feeling stopped you from starting something of your own, because you told yourself you needed an MBA first, or more experience, or the right credentials. Josh Kaufman felt the same frustration. He enrolled in business school expecting to gain transformative knowledge that would prepare him for the real world of business. What he found instead was a gap, a wide and frustrating gap between what was being taught in lecture halls and what actually made businesses succeed or fail in the real world. So he did something remarkable. He decided to educate himself. He read hundreds of books across business, economics, psychology, marketing, philosophy, and management. He synthesized everything he learned, tested it against real experience, and distilled it all into one comprehensive guide. The result was the Personal MBA, a book built on one powerful premise. Everything you need to know to build a successful business or advance your career can be learned on your own, without a university, without a degree, and at a fraction of the cost of a traditional MBA program.
Today, we're going to take a deep and thorough journey through this book. We will explore the 5 fundamental pillars that every successful business in human history has been built on. We will discover how the human mind works when making decisions and purchases. We will learn how to manage projects, build teams, improve systems, and most importantly, how to think in ways that give you a real advantage in whatever you pursue. This is not dry academic theory. This is a practical roadmap for understanding how the world of business actually works at its roots. Let us start with the most important question anyone thinking about any business activity needs to deeply understand. What actually makes businesses succeed? Kaufman answers this with a single statement that will change the way you see everything. He says every successful business in human history is built on 5 and only 5 pillars. These pillars are value creation, marketing, sales, value delivery, and finance. If you understand these 5 pillars genuinely and apply them intelligently, you already possess the core of what most MBA programs spend 2 years trying to teach. But the book does not stop at this simple framework. It dives deeply into each pillar in a way that makes the picture completely clear for anyone, whether they are a student, an employee, an entrepreneur, or a senior executive. Let us begin with the first pillar, the one everything else is built upon: value creation. Value creation is the heart of every business. But what does value actually mean? Kaufman explains that value is simply making someone's life better than it was before they interacted with you. When you go to a restaurant and eat a delicious meal, the restaurant created value for you. When you buy a piece of software that helps you organize your time, the software created value for you. When you read a book that opens a new horizon of thinking, the author created value for you. Value comes in many forms. Kaufman describes 12 fundamental forms of value that can be offered to others. Value can be a physical product you manufacture and sell. It can be a service, like a haircut, legal advice, or education. It can be a subscription, like a streaming service. It can be a platform that connects buyers and sellers. It can be media and entertainment that people consume. In all of these forms, the core is the same. You take something people need or want and deliver it in a way that is better than what they can find elsewhere. But here lies the real secret that many first-time entrepreneurs miss. Before you spend a single dollar building your product, says Kaufman, you must make sure what you are offering serves one of the fundamental human desires. He gives us a list of core desires that do not change with time: the desire for safety and security, the desire for money and wealth, the desire for social status and respect, the desire for belonging and human connection, the desire for health and energy and physical attractiveness, the desire for knowledge and understanding, the desire for entertainment and pleasure, and the desire for saving time and effort. If your product or service genuinely serves one of these fundamental desires, you are on the right track.
But if you are building something simply because you personally find it interesting, without it serving a real need in other people's lives, you are building on sand. The practical step Kaufman recommends before starting any project is what he calls the smoke test. It means creating a simple page that describes your product or service before you actually build it, and seeing whether anyone is willing to pay for it. If no one pays, you have saved yourself years of work building something nobody wants. Now we move to the second pillar, marketing. Many people confuse marketing with advertising, but Kaufman draws a sharp distinction between them. Marketing is the process of attracting the attention of people who might benefit from what you offer and making them want to know more. Advertising is just one of many tools within marketing. The goal of marketing is not to sell something quickly. The goal is to build a relationship of trust with the right person at the right time. The concept Kaufman builds here is what he calls the qualified audience. Not every person on earth is your potential customer, and this is a reality that many business owners initially resist because they want to sell to everyone. But whoever tries to sell to everyone sells to no one. You need to know precisely who that person is whose problem you are genuinely solving. How old are they? What do they read? What keeps them awake at night? What are their hopes and ambitions? The deeper you know your audience, the more effective your marketing becomes because you speak directly to their heart and mind.
This connects to what Kaufman calls the core message. How do you describe what you offer in 1 or 2 sentences that make the right person immediately feel you're speaking to them specifically? A good message does not talk about the company or the technical features of the product. It talks about the transformation that will happen in the customer's life after using the product. Helping busy mothers prepare healthy meals in 20 minutes is a clear and direct message that makes any busy mother feel this was written for her personally. One of the marketing concepts the book explores deeply is what it calls the attention architecture. We live in an age of information overload, where a single person encounters thousands of advertisements and pieces of content daily. In this crowded world, attention has become the most precious resource. Your marketing must be able to cut through this noise and reach the right person within seconds. The most effective way to capture attention is not through shouting or exaggerating promises, but through absolute clarity and direct connection with what your customer is actually thinking about. From marketing, we move to the third pillar, the one that actually makes money flow into your accounts: sales. Kaufman says plainly that many remarkable people with remarkable products fail because they do not know how to sell. And the problem is that many of us grew up with the idea that selling is annoying or opportunistic or undignified. But Kaufman flips this idea completely and says authentic selling is not forcing someone to buy something they do not need. It is helping a person make a decision that genuinely serves their real interest. The first thing he discusses in the context of selling is understanding the customer's decision cycle. People do not buy randomly. There is a logical and emotional process that happens in customers' minds before they click the purchase button. It begins with awareness, then interest, then evaluation and comparison, then decision, then the actual purchase, and finally the post-purchase phase where the customer decides whether they will return and recommend you to others. Kaufman also explains what he calls preempting objections. Every potential customer has a list of reasons in their head preventing them from buying. The price is too high. I do not trust this company. I don't know if this product suits me. I don't need it right now. A smart seller does not wait for the customer to raise these concerns, but addresses them in advance within the marketing message and presentation. Saying something like, "You might be wondering about the price, which is why we offer a 30-day money-back guarantee," removes the emotional barrier before it forms. One of the most powerful concepts the book presents on selling is what it calls framing power. The same product at the same price can be sold easily or rejected entirely, depending on how you present it. If you say, "This product costs $500, the buyer will feel the weight of that number.
But if you say, for less than $1.50 a day, you will get access to everything you need, suddenly the same amount seems entirely reasonable. The frame you place around your offer shapes the buying decision far more than most people imagine.
The discussion of sales also covers what Kaufman calls lifetime customer value. Most business owners think of a sale as a single, isolated transaction. But intelligent businesses think about each customer across the entire duration of the relationship. If a customer buys from you once for $100, that is their direct value. But if they return to buy every month for 3 years and refer 5 friends, their true value multiplies many times over. This understanding makes you invest more seriously in serving existing customers and keeping them satisfied rather than constantly chasing new ones. We now arrive at the fourth pillar, value delivery. Great selling is a beautiful promise, but value delivery is the fulfillment of that promise. Kaufman says the difference between companies that build empires and companies that disappear within 5 years lies in this specific pillar. You can sell with cleverness and skill, but if what you actually deliver does not match what you promised, it is over. He introduces what he calls the delivery channel, which is the complete journey a customer travels from the moment of purchase until they receive the full value. In a restaurant, the delivery channel includes how you are greeted at the door, how you are guided to your table, how the menu is presented, the speed of service, the quality of the food, the way it is presented, and even the moment you pay the bill and are wished farewell. Every point along this channel is an opportunity to make the experience exceptional or an opportunity for disappointment.
Kaufman connects this to expectation management. One of the biggest causes of customer dissatisfaction is that the expectations built during the marketing phase differ from the reality they find during delivery. The best way to prevent this is not to lower the customer's expectations, but to be completely honest in your marketing promises, and then do everything in your power to exceed those promises. Promise little and deliver much. This simple principle is one of the most powerful secrets behind building a loyal customer base. A concept Kaufman also examines under value delivery is productivity and scaling. At the start, you might deliver your service to 10 customers personally and with distinction. But what happens when they become 1,000? Can you maintain the same quality of delivery? This is what he calls the scaling problem. Its solution lies either in automating routine processes, or in delegating them to a well-trained team, or in building a system that can produce the same quality regardless of who is operating it. We reach the fifth and final pillar, the one that makes everything sustainable and continuous: finance. Kaufman does not approach finance the dry way it is taught in universities. He takes you directly to the concepts you actually need to run your business.
The first and most important concept in this pillar is the difference between profit and cash flow. Many businesses that appear successful on paper stumble in reality because their owners confuse these two concepts. Profit is the difference between your revenues and your costs over the long run. Cash flow is simply whether there is actual money in your account right now to pay your bills. A company can be theoretically profitable over an entire year, but go bankrupt in a single month if cash flow dries up. So you must always know not only how much you will earn, but also when money will come in and when it will go out. Kaufman also introduces a very practical concept he calls the break-even point, which is the moment when your revenues begin to cover your fixed and variable costs. Knowing this point precisely tells you exactly how many sales you need to remain commercially viable. This knowledge is invaluable in moments of crisis. The third concept the book explores in finance is profit margin. Not all sales are equal. A product you sell for $100 that costs $99 to produce is barely different from selling nothing. But a product you sell for $100 that costs $10 to produce, that is the foundation on which empires are built. For this reason, Kaufman says always search for ways to increase your profit margin, either by reducing costs or by raising the selling price through increasing the customer's perceived value.
After understanding the 5 pillars, we move into a section of the book Kaufman describes as no less important than understanding business itself, And that is understanding the human mind and how it works in the context of decisions, relationships, and productivity. Because at the end of the day, every business is an interaction between human beings, and if you do not understand people, you will not understand business. Kaufman begins by introducing a foundational concept he calls the two-system mind. Drawing on psychology research, he explains that the human brain operates with two parallel systems. The first system is fast, emotional, and automatic. It makes decisions in a fraction of a second based on intuition, feelings, and memory. The second system is slow, logical, and conscious. It needs time and effort to analyze information and reach considered decisions. The reason this matters so much is that most decisions people actually make come from the first system, from emotion and intuition, and then the second system is used to justify those decisions with logic. This means that anyone trying to persuade others, whether a marketer, a seller, a manager, or a partner, must speak first to emotion and not to logic. Logic justifies, but emotion decides. Among the most practically relevant psychology concepts the book covers is what it calls social signals and evolutionary inheritances. Human beings are fundamentally social animals, with instincts and evolutionary inheritances that influence their behavior in many situations unconsciously. For example, humans are hardwired to respond to the principle of reciprocity. If you give me something, I feel an internal pressure to respond in kind. This principle is used by smart marketing when it offers free samples or valuable content before asking for a purchase, because it creates in the recipient a feeling of owing something in return. There is also the scarcity principle. Studies consistently prove that people want rare things more than they want abundantly available things. Limited offer for 24 hours only, or only 10 spots remaining, are not just clever marketing techniques, but responses to a very old human instinct that says if this thing is rare, it probably means it is valuable, and I should get it before it runs out. Among the cognitive biases the book discusses is what is called the anchoring effect. When a person hears a particular number first, it becomes an anchor that governs all their subsequent judgments. If a negotiation begins with a high price being put on the table, any discount afterward will seem like a wonderful deal, even if the final price is still objectively high. This understanding makes you sharper, whether you are a seller or a buyer. There is another powerful bias Kaufman calls loss aversion. Research consistently proves that the pain a person feels when they lose something equals twice the happiness they feel when they gain something of equal value. This means a marketing message saying, "Do not miss this opportunity," or "You will lose this amount every month if you do not act," is far more powerful than one saying, "You will earn this amount." This is not manipulation, but a genuine understanding of how the human mind actually works. After the psychology section, the book takes us into what Kaufman describes as the real differentiator between people who succeed and people who know a great deal but achieve very little, which is the area of productivity and self-management. Because all the business knowledge and all the psychological understanding will not help you if you cannot manage your energy and time effectively. Kaufman begins with what he calls energy as a limited resource. People think of time as their most important and scarce resource. But he says time is not the real problem. You have 24 hours each day, just like every successful person in history. The real problem is your energy level and focus within those hours. 2 hours of work with deep concentration and high energy produces more than 12 hours of exhausted, distracted work. This is why Kaufman says your first responsibility towards your own productivity is managing your body and mind before managing your time. Adequate sleep is not a luxury but an investment in your productivity. Regular exercise does not only matter for your health but increases your capacity for focus and creativity. Good nutrition directly affects your brain's performance. A person who sleeps 5 hours, skips breakfast, and sits for 8 hours without movement will not be able to think clearly, regardless of their skills.
One of the most powerful productivity concepts the book presents is what Kaufman calls deep work. This is the state of working where you are fully immersed in a single task without any distraction, where your performance reaches its highest levels. Neuroscientists describe this state as requiring between 15 and 25 minutes of continuous focus to reach, and every interruption sends you back to zero. Protecting deep work time from all forms of disturbance, from emails and phones and colleagues and notifications, is therefore one of the most important investments you can make in your own productivity.
The book introduces a highly practical concept called anchoring your day. The idea is to identify at the beginning of each day 3 and only 3 tasks that are the most important and commit to completing them before anything else. 3 tasks seems minimal, but the paradox is that this constraint is precisely what makes you actually productive. When your task list contains 30 items, nothing feels truly urgent, and you end up choosing the easiest and least important tasks. But when you must choose only 3, you are forced to think seriously about what genuinely deserves your time and energy. This connects to what Kaufman calls the first thing effect. Research shows that the mental state in which you start your day influences your productivity for hours. He therefore recommends making the first thing you do each morning the completion of your most important and most challenging task of the day. Not email, not social media, not reading news. All of these activities put you in a reactive, responding to others mode instead of a proactive, initiating mode. There is also a concept the book examines in depth called deliberate continuous learning. A person who learns continuously does not reread what they already know, but intentionally challenges themselves to learn what they do not know. And effective learning does not mean reading endless books, but applying what you learn immediately, because knowledge only becomes skill through practice. This is why the book praises what it calls rapid experimentation, which means taking any principle or idea you have learned and testing it in real life as quickly as possible, even if the experiment is small and limited.
After productivity, Kaufman moves to what he describes as the real differentiator among people of similar knowledge and skill, which is the mental framework. How you think about problems, how you view opportunities, how you interpret successes and failures, all of this determines your outcomes over the long run more than any technical skill or specialized knowledge. One of the most important mental framework principles the book discusses is what it calls abundance versus scarcity. The person who thinks with a scarcity mindset sees the world as a place of limited resources and opportunities, becoming competitive, fearful, and protective of information. The person who thinks with an abundance mindset sees opportunities as endless, and sees other success as not diminishing their own chances, and sees sharing knowledge as beneficial rather than harmful. This mindset directly affects your ability to build partnerships and alliances, because a person with an abundance mindset is easy to collaborate with and seeks deals where both parties win. One of the powerful mental concepts in this section is what Kaufman calls the map of what you know and do not know. He draws a mental picture with 4 quadrants. What you know that you know, which is your area of clear expertise. What you know that you do not know, which is the zone of conscious learning. What you do not know that you know, which is buried experience and implicit skills you have gained without realizing it. And the most critical, what you do not know that you do not know, which is the blind spot that causes the biggest mistakes because you don't even know you're ignorant of it. Working to expand your awareness of this last zone through humility and constant curiosity is what distinguishes genuine learners from those who remain fixed in their existing beliefs.
We now arrive at a section Kaufman considers highly practical, building systems and teams. Because any project or organization you want to grow must transition from depending on exceptional individuals to depending on effective systems that ordinary people can operate to produce exceptional results. Kaufman introduces what he calls systems thinking, which means thinking in terms of interactions rather than isolated events. When you look at any problem in your organization or your life as an isolated incident, you will search for a quick fix that treats the symptoms. But when you look at it as the product of a larger system, you will search for the true root of the problem and address it. For example, if you notice your employees are consistently late, the surface solution is to threaten them with punishment. But systems thinking asks, what in the system makes lateness easy or acceptable? Are the working hours unsuitable? Does the team culture not value punctuality? Does the distribution of tasks make lateness consequence-free? The real answer is always in the system, not in the individuals.
In the context of building teams, the book presents what it calls the fundamental equation of leadership. An effective leader is not defined by their title or authority, but by their ability to make people perform at their best, willingly and by choice. This ability rests on three foundations: trust, clarity, and empowerment. Trust means your team knows you are honest with them and care about their interests. Clarity means every person on the team understands exactly what is expected of them and how their performance is measured. Empowerment means you give them genuine authority to make decisions within their area of work without needing your approval for every small thing. This connects to what Kaufman calls incentive design. Tell me how you reward your employees, and I will tell you exactly how they will behave. People respond to incentives automatically, whether those incentives are intentional or not. If your reward system compensates employees for long working hours rather than actual results, you will find people sitting in the office until midnight without producing anything of lasting value. If your system rewards the sales team only on sales volume without considering the quality of clients they bring in, you will find salespeople selling to unsuitable customers, which will cause you problems later in service and refunds. A concept that provokes deep discussion in the book is defining and measuring quality. Quality is a word everyone uses, but few people know how to measure objectively. Kaufman proposes a simple and practical definition. Quality is the degree to which what you deliver matches what you promised and what your customer expected. True quality measurement comes not from internal employee opinions, but from actual customer reactions. And the single best indicator of customer satisfaction is what the book calls the Net Promoter Score, which is essentially asking, how likely are you to recommend us to your friends? This single question reveals precisely the true strength of your customer experience.
Now we move into the section on negotiation and persuasion, which contains a large number of practical tools you can apply immediately. Kaufman begins with a new definition of negotiation that differs from the common mental image of it. Negotiation is not a battle where one side wins and the other loses. Negotiation is a process of exchanging information and joint discovery to find an arrangement that serves the interests of both parties. And the better negotiator is not the most aggressive or the loudest, but the one who listens most carefully and most deeply understands what the other party truly wants. One of the most important negotiation tools the book presents is what it calls your best alternative to a negotiated agreement, known widely as your BATNA. The idea is simple. Before you sit at any negotiation table, know precisely what you will do if the negotiation fails. The stronger your best alternative is, the greater your negotiating power. And the weaker or more absent your alternative is, the weaker your position, no matter how hard you try to hide that.
The book also presents a golden principle in negotiation it calls making the first offer. Research consistently shows that the party that names the first number in any negotiation typically achieves a better outcome because that number becomes the anchor around which the entire negotiation revolves. The only exception is when you do not have enough information about the true value of what you are negotiating, in which case it is better to let the other party go first. One of the negotiation concepts the book presents in an engaging way is what it calls the shared interest frame. Many negotiations fail because both parties focus on their positions rather than their interests. A position is what you publicly demand. An interest is the real reason behind that demand. A position of an employee might be a request for a 20% raise, but their real interest might not be money alone, but the feeling of being valued and recognized for their contribution. When you understand the real interests of both parties, you will find creative solutions that never occur to anyone who is stuck arguing over positions. Kaufman closes the negotiation section with what he calls the power of silence. Many people feel uncomfortable when silence falls during a negotiation and rush to fill it with unnecessary words and unnecessary concessions. The skilled negotiator knows that silence after naming a price or a condition is a tool of power because it places pressure on the other party to respond. Learn to state your offer or request clearly, then go quiet.
Following negotiation, the book discusses what Kaufman calls business model design. A business model is the logic that describes how an organization creates value, delivers it, and earns money from it. There are dozens of different models any business can adopt, and understanding them gives you the ability to see opportunities where others see nothing. For example, the bait and hook model is built on selling the core product at a low price or even free, then earning profit from consumables and add-ons. Razors are inexpensive, but the blades are costly. Printers are reasonably priced, but the ink is expensive. Sometimes the model is completely reversed, as with some gaming platforms that give you the game free and sell upgrades and additions. There is the recurring subscription model, monthly or annual, which is among the best business models in existence because it generates regular and predictable cash flow and builds a continuous relationship with the customer. And there is the marketplace or intermediary platform model that connects two parties, such as food delivery platforms connecting restaurants and consumers, or job platforms connecting companies and job seekers. This model is tremendously powerful because it benefits from the network effect, meaning the more users you have on both sides, the more valuable the platform becomes to everyone.
The book closes this section with an analysis of matching the right model to the nature of what you offer and the market you operate in. Not every model fits every product or service, and the key lies in understanding the nature of your value and then selecting the model that makes delivering it to the customer as smooth as possible. We arrive now at what Kaufman uses to close his book, practical wisdom that draws together all the threads of everything that came before. He titles this section, Learning as a Lifelong Project. He puts forward an idea that seems simple but carries great depth. The successful person in today's world is not the one who possesses the largest collection of ready-made knowledge, but the one who possesses the ability to acquire new knowledge as quickly as possible whenever they need it. Technical knowledge alone becomes outdated with stunning speed in our accelerating world, but the ability to learn and adapt never becomes outdated. To develop this ability, Kaufman recommends what he calls strategic reading. Do not read books from cover to cover in the same mechanical way. First, read the title, the table of contents, and the conclusion to understand the structure of the book and what it wants to convey. Then, go to the sections that address your current specific problems. Then, if it captures your interest, read the whole book. This approach allows you to absorb 10 times more than reading linearly through a book from obligation.
He also presents what he calls spaced repetition review, which means after reading any book or learning any skill, you return to review what you learned after 1 week, then after 1 month, then after 3 months. This repetition transforms information from short-term into deep, long-term memory. Among the ideas he uses to close the book is what he calls building your knowledge map. He suggests keeping a notebook or file where you record the concepts and principles you learn and how they connect to each other. This practice does something almost magical. It forces you to formulate what you learned in your own words, which clearly reveals whether you genuinely understood the idea or were simply repeating it without understanding. True understanding shows in your ability to explain the idea to a 10-year-old in simple language. And one of the most beautiful passages in the book is what Kaufman calls learning from experience rather than from theory alone. He says the most memorable and useful things in your life are not what you read in a book, but what you lived and learned through first-hand experience. He therefore invites you to treat every experience, whether successful or failed, as a learning laboratory. After every project, and after every important decision, and after every negotiation or experiment, sit with yourself and ask 3 questions. What worked and why? What did not work and why? And what would I do differently next time? This simple routine transforms every experience in your life into a teacher.
At the close of our journey through this remarkable book, I want to pause for a moment and draw the full picture together for you. What does Josh Kaufman truly want from his reader? He wants one large, single thing: for you to stop waiting. Stop waiting for the right degree, for the perfect opportunity, for sufficient funding, for enough experience. The world is full of people who know a great deal and do nothing, and he wants you to be among those who know enough to start and learn the rest along the way. The 5 pillars we explored together: value creation, marketing, sales, value delivery, and finance, are not abstract pillars in a theoretical book. They are the pillars on which every real project stands. Your deep understanding of human psychology and how people make their decisions is what makes every choice you take sharper and smarter. Your mastery of managing your own energy and focus is what makes your single hour worth what 12 hours is worth for someone else. And your building of real relationships grounded in giving rather than taking is your most precious capital, the kind that fierce competition cannot steal from you. The book in your hands is not merely a book on business management. It is genuinely a book about understanding life, because its principles apply not only to those wanting to build a company, but to the employee who wants to advance their career, to the student who wants to build their future intelligently, and to the person who wants to manage their personal and family life with greater effectiveness. Business, at the end of the day, is nothing more than a reflection of human interactions, and understanding it means understanding human nature itself.
There is one question I want you to carry with you from this summary, and think about seriously. What is the real value you can offer the world that no one else delivers in quite the same way? Not what you do right now, because you have to, but what you can do with a unique style that flows from your experience, your passion, and your values. Because the answer to that question is the beginning of every great project and every exceptional career. The world does not need identical copies of those who came before you. It needs you, with everything you carry of unique experiences, different perspectives, and a way of seeing that resembles no one else's. Kaufman gave you the tools, and this summary gave you the map. But the first step on the path is one no one can take for you. If this summary opened a new horizon for you, share it with someone you believe needs these ideas today. Until next time, keep building something worth leaving behind.